Good Wednesday, everybody, and thank you for joining me for episode 31 of the Southern Conservative Podcast. My name is Ty. So in the last podcast on Monday, I said the next podcast would be after we knew the results of the special election in the 18th Congressional District in Pennsylvania. And we still don't have any official results. The race is that close. However, it looks like the Democrat Connor Lamb will defeat the Republican Rex Tillerson. Now, I'm going to tell you what all of this means for the Republicans and for the Democrats when it comes to the midterm elections in November. First, we know that Trump defeated Hillary in this district by 20 points in 2016. But something you need to know about this district. This district is in the southwest corner of Pennsylvania, which, by the way, won't exist in the November elections because the Pennsylvania Supreme Court had the map of the congressional districts redrawn. The new map is being challenged, but assuming the new map stands, the 18th district will not exist as it does today. But the district is in the southwest corner of Pennsylvania. It's not an uber-liberal district. It's not Baltimore. It's not Detroit. It's not San Francisco. It's a district filled with blue-collar workers, and this district has a lot of moderate Democrats. Look at how Connor Lamb, the Democrat, ran his campaign. If you didn't know he had a D after his name, you would have thought he was a moderate Republican. He stood by Trump's tariffs, he stood by the Second Amendment, he supported Trump's taxes, and he said he was pro-life. This certainly is way out of the ordinary from where the Democratic Party as a whole is today. Look at who leads the party. You have Nancy Pelosi in the House and Chuck Schumer in the Senate. Look who the two big contenders were for the Democratic Party in the 2016 election, Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. Look at some of the names being tossed around for 2020. Kamala Harris from California, Cory Booker from New Jersey, Joe Biden from Delaware. These are all hardcore leftists. And that is not what Connor Lamb campaigned on. In fact, he said he would not support Nancy Pelosi for Speaker. And Connor Lamb was a likable guy. In other words, Connor Lamb pushed aside the liberal agenda on the national stage and focused on running a moderate campaign, appealing to moderate Democrats who live in the 18th district. And it was a successful campaign, or at least it appears to be successful. Lamb is about 600 votes ahead of Rex Tillerson. So this election was not a referendum on Donald Trump. It was a referendum of the liberal policies of Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and Nancy Pelosi. Now, truth be told, once Lamb gets to Washington, you better believe Nancy Pelosi will twist his arm so that he votes the way Nancy wants him to vote. I can guarantee you that Connor Lamb is not as moderate as he claims to be. And now he's going to have a record in the House that will prove it one way or the other. So what's the lesson here for the Democrats? Well, if the Democrats want to take control of the House, they need to pick off Republicans in toss-up districts. Those will be the easiest races for Democrats to win. It will be harder for them to win the more ruby-red districts. Now, the key to winning those toss-up districts is to run a race the way Connor Lamb did. He appealed to moderate Democrats by running as a moderate Democrat. And he localized the election. He appealed to voters in that district. He really didn't make it about the national issues. Again, he rejected Nancy Pelosi as Speaker. Running as a traditional far-left Democrat, you'll be less likely to take away seats from Republicans in those toss-up districts. In fact, that may help to explain why Trump won the 18th district by 20 points in 2016. Democrat voters were turned off by the liberal policies of Hillary Clinton. The question will be whether you can find moderate Democrats to run in November. Remember, special elections are different. This was about one House seat. When you have all 435 seats up at the same time, a national narrative begins to take shape, and party leaders in Washington begin to tout what their agenda will be for the next 2 years. And seeing as how the party leaders are anti-Trump, far-left Democrats, there may be a problem in finding moderate candidates. Now, the key for Republicans is to first nominate good candidates. Look at Rick Tillerson. Folks, I didn't mention this earlier because I didn't want to at the time, but it was more than obvious, and I'm sure you noticed it as well as I did. If you watched Trump's rally in Pennsylvania last Saturday, you'll remember he invited Rick Tillerson up to the stage to say a few words before Trump finished speaking. And Rick Tillerson acted as if he had zero energy, or at least he wasn't as energized as Trump was. From what's being said, Tillerson was not the best campaigner, and he didn't raise a lot of money on his own. So Republicans need to find good candidates. Republicans also need to be able to nationalize the election. If you make the election about local issues, as we saw in the 18th district last night, the Democrat will have a serious chance of winning. Make the elections in November about Trump and his agenda and what you will do to help Trump accomplish his agenda. Certainly, Republicans can run on tax cuts. Trump announced today in Missouri that he and Kevin Brady are working on phase 2 of tax reform. More details, I'm sure, will be out soon. But run on national issues. Tie the Democrats to Nancy Pelosi. Republicans certainly are going to have to work on their messaging this November. Remember, history shows us that the party that wins the presidency tends to lose the House 2 years later. So this is already going against the Republicans. But running on Trump's successes in painting your Democrat opponent as someone who will support the agenda of Nancy Pelosi is something Republicans need to do. I want to remind everybody to please check out my Facebook page. Go to facebook.com/Southern Conservative. That's facebook.com/Southern Conservative. There you will find links to conservative news articles on stories you may not hear about in the mainstream media. Plus, if you follow the news feed, you'll find links to the daily podcasts. Be sure to also subscribe to this channel. You'll be notified each time a new podcast has been posted. New podcasts are posted daily, Monday through Thursday. Well, by now you already know that Trump fired Secretary of State Rex Tillerson yesterday. He has nominated current CIA Director Mike Pompeo to replace him and has nominated the Deputy CIA Director Gina Haspel to replace Pompeo. Now, I'm glad Tillerson is out. Tillerson and Trump have not seen eye to eye on many foreign policy issues. The straw that appeared to break the camel's back was Tillerson wanted the United States to stay in the Iran nuclear agreement. Tillerson was not supportive in moving the embassy in Israel to Jerusalem, and there were some other areas of disagreement as well. Mike Pompeo is a solid guy and would do a great job as Secretary of State. Gina Haspel has been in the CIA since 2013 in senior leadership positions, serving as the director of the National Clandestine Service under Barack Obama and as the deputy CIA director under Donald Trump. She has extensively had her hands on the day-to-day operations within the CIA. But now both have come under attack. Remember, both need to be confirmed by the Senate. Today, Senator Rand Paul announced he is not supporting either nominee. Rand Paul was the only Republican that did not vote for Mike Pompeo to be CIA director. Rand Paul does not like Mike Pompeo. He said today, "I'm perplexed by the nomination of people who love the Iraq war so much that they would advocate for a war with Iran next. I think it goes against most of the things President Trump campaigned on." Now, this should not be surprising to anybody. Rand Paul is an isolationist, and I don't think Pompeo wants a war with Iran, but Pompeo is not afraid to take war off the table. And folks, where North Korea is today is where we will be in the future with Iran, thanks to the nuclear deal. As far as Haspel, well, she was involved with waterboarding after 9/11 during the Bush administration. And Rand Paul has a problem with this, as does John McCain, and this comes at no surprise. Both are calling waterboarding torture. Personally, I think that in the immediate aftermath of 9/11, in an effort to get information out of terrorists who just killed 3,000 Americans, the United States had to do what it had to do to protect Americans. And only 3 terrorists were waterboarded, albeit extensively. And one of those guys was the mastermind behind 9/11. When we're not dealing with traditional prisoners of war, when we're dealing with terrorists who have no problem cutting off heads, burning people alive, and so forth, I have no problem waterboarding these guys. The war on terror is unlike any war the United States has been involved. The closest thing to the action of these terrorists were the actions of the Japanese and how they treated American prisoners of war during World War II. And the war on terror is constantly changing. You had the Taliban, you had Al-Qaeda, you have ISIS, all these different groups all across the Middle East, North Africa, and other places. The war is ever evolving, and these guys are absolute savages. So it's going to be difficult to get these two confirmed. It's going to require cooperation from Democrats. I'm sure you're going to get a few votes from Democrats. Gina Haspel, again, already has extensive senior leadership experience within the CIA, and there's no doubt she will do a great job as director. By the way, she would become the first woman to head the CIA. Do you remember all the hoopla over Hillary Clinton being the first woman to become a major party nominee for president? Where is all the hoopla from women's groups over Gina Haspel? There isn't any. Only silence. That's because unless it's a liberal, progressive, feminist woman, women's groups aren't going to celebrate a new first for women. And that should be telling to all of you. Some other quick news points today. The House overwhelmingly passed a bill today to enhance school safety. It also enhances background checks. The bill does not include gun control measures. Trump has picked Larry Kudlow to be his new chief economic advisor, replacing Gary Cohn. Kudlow is absolutely brilliant when it comes to understanding the economy and would be a great advisor for Trump. Like Cohn, though, he's not a big fan of tariffs, but he is willing to support other aspects of Trump's economic plan. There is some talk that Jeff Sessions will fire Andrew McCabe before his leave time is up and his retirement begins. If fired, it means he could lose his pension. Sessions has until Sunday to fire him. There is a DOJ Inspector General's report due out this month that will highlight the FBI's investigation into Hillary Clinton's mishandling of classified information, and Andrew McCabe played a key role in that. McCabe's wife received money from groups tied to then Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe when she was running for a state Senate seat in Virginia. And Terry McAuliffe is a close friend of Hillary Clinton, so there's a conflict there. Plus, McCabe was aware of emails from Anthony Weiner's laptop that contained messages to and from Hillary Clinton that were not previously investigated by the FBI. And he was aware of these emails 1 month before the FBI reopened its investigation into Hillary. So if McCabe is fired, that will be a big deal, and frankly, he should be fired. Well, folks, that will do it for today. It was a quick podcast, and I'm actually out of time to add more to today's podcast. I will be back on Thursday.